Welcome back, everybody. What do we got here on the workbench? We've got it's roughly around 1950 Hallicrafters model S-38B Bravo. So before we get into this one, let's do a little brief history on the Hallicrafters S-38 series. The S-38 came out about 1946, right after World War II, and it continued on from 46 to 1961 in some form or fashion. So it started out with the S-38, and it came out, it was it cost about $47.50. And of course it had 6 tubes. Now all of these are transformerless, and those who know about a transformerless radio, and we'll go into detail on that a little bit later on. But the S-38, it covered from 0.54 kc up to 32 kc or megahertz. And the one thing that the 38 has that the rest of them don't, it has an extra switch for BFO, or beat frequency oscillator. These are built, they have a BFO built in, but from what I'm reading, all the people that's dealt with all these, that they're really not desirable to copy CW and single sideband. So a lot of people add another BFO circuit in there, and if we get this one going, we may look at doing that, and we'll see how that goes along with us. Now after the 38, just the plain 38, they came out with the 38A, 38 Alpha, and that was about 1949. But they improved some regenerative IF circuits and eliminated the BFO tube. We talked about that. And that cost right around $40, $39.50 or so. Then in 1950, the 38B came out, and it was very, very similar to the 38A with a few minor enhancements, and I don't know what those enhancements are. Perhaps we'll learn as we go further down the line. But it also cost about $39.50 at that point in time. Then in about 1952, the 38 Charlie came out, and it was the first one that had the gray metallic cabinet. The features are very, very similar, but it's a gray cabinet. Okay. And in 1955, the 38 Delta D came out, and it had the rectangular dial, and it's gray also, but it retained some of the features of the earlier models. And then in 1957, the 38 Echo, it came out in 57, and you could get it in beige and mahogany, and of course it was very similar to the previous one. They improved it as they went along and everything like that. Now the 38, just the plain 38, came out in 46. It had that extra BFO tube in it, so it had 6 tubes instead of 5 tubes like this one. Now it had a hot chassis. The 38 Alpha had a hot chassis, and then the 38 Bravo had a hot chassis. So those first 3, if you get the 38, the A, or the B, you need to rewire this, because I mean, this is a metal case. If something fails, this case could be hot unless we do something. And what we're going to do is we're going to rewire it, and we're going to put a polarized plug on it, and we'll go into that in detail when we get into this. Don't even know if this works. I've had this 4 years or so and hadn't even tried it. The cord's flaky, so I hadn't even plugged it in. But Now the rest of them, the Charlie, Delta, and Echo radios, they're not. They have a capacitor resistor that floats the B minus off of the chassis. So it's relatively safe. But if you are going to work on those, you still need to put a polarized plug to ensure that you know, you eliminate any hazard like that, because if the capacitor shorts, guess there you are, right? But let's see, I believe that's about all I've got as far as history and everything. But this one has got 5 tubes. It's got the converter is the 12SA7, the IF amp and the BFO built in, even though there's not a switch on there. It's got a 12 SK7. The detector and audio, the first audio stage, it's a 12 SQ7. The audio output tube is the 50L6, and the rectifier is the 35Z5. One of the things that the 38B has is an interlocking plug, which means if you take this back off, it unplugs the radio and you have to have a cheater cord to power it up. But if you take this off, then you are looking at the hot chassis inside here. Excuse me. As you can see, we could probably plug that up there. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. These are bare wires. I don't think they're touching, but we're not going to power that up. What we have on the back, of course, we've got this is for headphones, and this is for the antennas. You can do a single wire with a ground or a doublet antenna. Let's go back to the front. Of course, let's see what we've got already. This that works. The band spread works. This is the main tuning. Of course, this is for AM or CW, speaker or phone. This is a selector switch for the 4 bands. And this one goes from 0.54 kilohertz to or 0.54 megahertz, I guess, 540 kilohertz to 32 megahertz. And this is the receive standby, which could be used for a communications receiver with using CW. So it's in fairly decent shape. Got a few dings, some paint missing here. This is kind of a black crinkle finish. This is just nasty. This has just got some nasty stuff up on top. Let's see if I can get you a view up here. It's got a built-in speaker, which is kind of nice. It's a permanent magnet speaker. Beavers with dull teeth have been chewing on these knobs, so we might need to try to get some replacements for this if available. And let's see, I think that's about all for this first little clip. And so I don't think we're going to power it up. I think what we're going to do is we're going to start doing disassembly. We'll bring you back. We may try to go over the a little bit of the schematic, and then maybe get into the radio. Okay, I think I've looked at this cord. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's shorted, but we're not going to we're going to do some inspections before we do anything like that. I want to show you something. Cords definitely got to be addressed. That's of course you can see that's the reason that it can possibly be a hot chassis, is because it's not polarized. What you want to do is find one that is polarized like that. You see, we got a polarized plug, but we have to have something that will fit there. So, ooh, what do you think about that? I bought 2 or 3 of these. I found them in a surplus house. So that's the plan for that. All right, I tell you what, let's take the back off of this and look. Oh, let's see, do I have a bag? I need a bag. Yes, I do. Always store your materials in a bag so that we can find it, or we lose them all in one time. Now, like I say, I bought this probably 4 years ago in an auction site, and this is the first time I've really looked at it. And so you're looking at it as I'm seeing it, and I think that adds to the videos. I don't know if y'all feel that way. But we're exploring this together. Anyway, we'll put these in our bag, and this should unplug here like that. And that is the I guess that's the guide, and that plugs on there. So let's see, while we're here, if we're going to have to do something to make this one work. It's a little small there. We can figure that out a little later on. All right, let's see. Let's put this back is in pretty good shape. Looks pretty good. Let me try to get you some light back in there. That looks pretty good. Tubes look like they're in good shape. There's the speaker. Okay. This also has a bottom. Let me flip this over and we'll take the bottom off and look under there. Important for your protection, this receiver has been properly adjusted and sealed at the factory. Breaking these as seals without written permission from the factory or dealer will void your RMA guarantee. I believe there was a screw there, which is not there anymore. There's always one screw missing. Always. It's part of the rules of radio. A knob, a flower pot coffee stain, a cigarette burn, missing knobs, screws missing. So let's see what we can see. Do these feet make it stay on? We'll find out, won't we? I believe it does. At least these two bottom ones. Yeah, I still got you on camera. Well, all the feet hold it, and that's okay. Can't forget about that screw and drop it and lose it. Well, that just pulled right through there, didn't it? Okay. What was that? What was that? Floor monster got something. And we'll figure it out in a minute. All right, let me get the camera repositioned and we'll take a deeper look in there. It was just a washer. Let's take a look at why this has the potential. Of course, this is the plug, non-polarized. That was the plug on the cabinet back. And there's the plug here. If you see, this is the heater chain, here's the rectifier tube, and this is the heater of the rest of them. And that goes to chassis ground. Now there's a difference in chassis ground and the little pitchfork. That is cabinet ground. So the cabinet, this cabinet is connected through this one capacitor. Okay, if that were to short, then that outside could possibly be, if this was the 50-50 chance, because when non-polarized plug, you got a 50-50 chance of this side being the positive of the outlet. With polarized plug, then that will go away. So the way they've been doing it is they've been taking and putting the switch here, making this the positive one here, and of course this the negative on this side, or the neutral on this side. That's how all the other videos have been. You just take and swap the switch to this leg and make this the neutral. All right, let's look in here. There is the, that's the original capacitor. Looks like it's all original. Now here's the other things here. Let's see. Let me dig in here and look, and I'll get right back. All right. This is the metal outside cabinet itself, and this is the chassis that the radio's built in. Now this is a piece of real thick, like fish paper. It's an insulating material, and that's actually part of the back. If you will notice right here, there is a rubber grommet, and that looks like some sort of like plastic grommet. And if you'll notice, it fits inside there. Okay, on the back side of there is this, which sticks up in there. And if you'll remember, that bottom had this screw, and the bottom is on here, which is a fiber board, and so this goes in there and holds that, and holds the chassis and the fiber board and all those insulators, and it keeps this chassis isolated from the cabinet itself. So these are very, very important until we modify it. Still going to leave them in there, but this actually isolates this from the outside cabinet. All right, let's look and see how this is wired, and I will show you what I have found. Let me reposition stuff. We'll do a lot better when we get this out of the cabinet. Let's get this meter over here somewhere. Maybe I can get it all together. Don't know. Anyway, right in here, I'll swing this around where you can see it. There's your power cord. This one goes right over here to that first of the heater chain. Comes straight in here and goes straight to pin 2 of the rectifier tube. Of course, the other one goes up here, goes from this pin, goes through the power switch up here on the radio, and then it goes to chassis ground. Chassis, not cabinet. So from here, from this metal piece here to this, if this switch is on, shows a short. So this wire goes up here, goes to the power switch, and this power switch from there goes straight down to right there to chassis ground. From this switch straight to the chassis ground. So we're going to have to work with that. Now I'm looking to see, that looks like someone's been in here with that. We'll look and see, check that circuit out. But I tell you what, let's looks like pretty much the original caps and whatever, but let's go ahead. We've already identified the what keeps it isolated, the chassis from isolating from the cabinet. So let's go ahead and get the cabinet out. Now what we'll have to do is get those knobs off, and let me turn it back up, and then we'll take those knobs off. All right, these Hallicrafters, some of the older Hallicrafters are, and some of the newer ones have Bristol wrenches, but these I believe have a 1/16 Allen, and let's see, and that seemed to have fit. Nothing's off. I got a rubber washer there like that. Let me get the rest of these off and I'll bring you back. Got the knobs off. Now we have to take these screws that holds these switches in there. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, these switches are on some sort of phenolic board, isolating it from the cabinet. We'll see here shortly when we get this out. I always like these green dials, these half moon green dials. Always like those. Let's put it in our bag for another day and see what it's going to take to get these out. Get this out. Should have enough cord to get the speaker out also. All right. Is there plugs on that? Is my arm in your way? Probably. Let's turn this up and see what it looks like. No, we're going to have to unsolder these or take the speaker out. Speaker looks okay. I vote that we just take the unsolder that. What do you think? Test the speaker a little bit. Not bad. All right, let's take a look at the tube complement. This is the rectifier tube. That is the 35Z5. Here's your output tube, your audio output, 50L6. This one is the 12SQ7. This is the 12SK7, and this is the 12SA7. Of course, if you'll look right here, see these wires twisted. That's a gimmick capacitor. And that's looks like some sort of spray, overspray or something. If you look and see how, it's kind of weird. It's like paint or something. I don't know. It's relatively clean other than that, but it looks like a spray of some sort. Don't know. But let's turn it over and see if we get a better view. These knobs here are like phenolic, so that insulates it and everything. The dial cord looks pretty good. Dial just a little dirty. Here's your band spread. It seems to work okay too. Okay. Of course, there's our filter cap. There's that's multiple ones. You got a 60 microfarad at 150 volts, 40 microfarad at 150 volts, 40 microfarads at 150 volts, and 20 microfarads at 25 volts. Looks like what we can possibly do is take this out, clip these wires. Of course, the black here is the common, which goes to ground, chassis ground. And here is another one of those that isolates this. This is not phenolic. Let me get you up here a little bit. This selector switch is on a phenolic board, and your volume control is on a phenolic board. But these switches are mounted with some screws with these isolated from chassis using these spacers, just like we found here in the very back that the cabinet. So we'll make sure we put those back in place. Looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 paper caps, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, 4 electrolytics. And we can put us a terminal strip here and just use these wires to feed that terminal strip. That sounds like a good idea. I think I've seen that done before. And we'll want to take and make sure we get our polarized plug in and swap and put the, make sure we get the positive run over to the power switch, and then the neutral, run it to chassis ground too. So that doesn't look that bad. I sure would like to power that up, but I don't think we'll even try it. Without changing at least the filter cap. So I want to give a shout out to a website called geojohn.org, and I hope I don't butcher his name. It's John Furring, Fuhring, F-U-H-R-I-N-G. I think he lives out in California. He's a WA6 call, I believe. So anyway, I reached out to him. He has a real good website. It's called geojohn.org that explains all this about the grounding, the problems with it, how to fix it, etc., etc. And so I'll put the link up and you can check that out. And I asked him for schematic, and he sent me an updated schematic and an older schematic. He drew both of them, but it's the original one and the updated one with the fix in it, and I appreciate it. He got back with me on that. So he has a real good story about him getting one. You need to go on his site and read his story. It's a real neat story. I really considered firing this up, but I decided against it. What I'm going to do is, well, as you can see, this wire, I was messing with the power plug and one of the pins broke out. So we're going to have to replace this power plug back here. So we'll look and see if we can get a replacement, and when we do, we'll get a polarized cord. So one of the things I've seen is you get those three-prong plugs that goes in there. That's kind of universal, goes on computers, whatever. I've seen that done. They didn't use the ground, but they use that plug. I'm sure there's a plug that we can make this work, but we'll start looking for a replacement plug for that. And then in the next episode, we'll go ahead and we will rewire this to make it safe, to take it off the take the negative or whatever off of the ground, make sure that the positive goes through the power switch and that the neutral goes to the chassis ground, which will be right over in here. I don't see why we couldn't just put it right here, but I've seen other people go ahead and just swap those wires around. But we'll make the power safe on this, and then we will change out at least the coupling cap and this power or the filter caps, and then we may try to bring it up in the next episode just to see if we've got something going. And I'll check the tubes in the meantime. We'll do a little more cleanup and everything like that. So tell me what you think. If you like the video, click the like, the thumbs up to set the algorithms. Apparently it works because one of my videos got a boost in views, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the great comments and everything like that. But I'd gotten a request to work on some ham equipment, and guess what? This is some ham equipment, and it also does the broadcast band. So whatever. I got to looking. I told you I saw this. This didn't look original in the circuit. That particular resistor in that circuit going to pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the 12SA7 tube is a 47 ohm resistor. Well, that is two 100 resistors in parallel, so that's 50 ohms. So apparently that resistor burnt or something happened, so they replaced it with that, and so that's probably. But I don't see anything else. In the next one, we'll check all the components and get these capacitors and get this wiring done, and then maybe in the next one we'll fire it up. So we're going to wrap this up, and so I appreciate everybody. So from Larry from the hills of Tennessee, thanks for watching.